Well, the readings we have this weekend are beautiful readings, very reassuring readings, and readings that remind us, really, that there's something very easy about living a life in Christ. Now, sometimes we may not be fully convinced that there's something easy about living a life in Christ, but we are reminded very clearly to live a life with God is very easy. Prophet Isaiah begins that whole thing for us very clearly. Isaiah says, all who are thirsty, come to the water. Pretty easy. All who have no money, receive grain and eat. Pretty easy. No cost. When do you ever hear that? No paying. You will eat well. You will delight in rich fare. Isaiah is really reminding us very clearly that there's something very easy about being a disciple of God. For us, all who are thirsty, come to the water of baptism. All who have no money, come receive grain and eat here at the table of the Eucharist. Become in the sacraments that we celebrate the living reality of that sacrament in the world today. So often we limit a sacrament to that ritual in church, but we fail to remember that each and every moment of our lives we are living the sacrament of baptism. And each moment of our lives, for those who've received their first communion, we are living the Eucharist as God's Eucharistic people in the world today. We're called to be that living reality, and in that living reality to realize an ease in life. Those words of Isaiah are really fulfilled in a very direct way by the gospel today. And the gospel today actually took place in Tabgha. Now, it's show and tell time. There's pictures I brought from the trip to Israel, because of course I was there in Tabgha. And all four Gospels, account for the feeding of the multitude. Now, hopefully technology's with us, and there is the church, which is built in Tabgha, which is built over the site where we believe Jesus performed this very miracle. That's the church as a whole. Now we're going to zero in on the altar itself. And you can see under the altar, and a closer shot will be there in a moment, underneath the altar there's a rock. It's the actual earth. And that rock is where we believe this exact miracle took place, that Jesus blessed and broke the bread, the loaves, and the fishes. And of course you can see in the mosaic the loaves and the fishes right there on the floor before the altar. And Tabgha is a small area, but it's right on the Sea of Galilee and right near so many things that took place, either right in Tabgha or right next to it. This area is an area where many people came to the water, and an area where many people were fed by the Lord. It was here that the first apostles were called in Mark's Gospel. It was here, right nearby, the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus gave that foundational teaching in Matthew. And it was here that the woman with the hemorrhages was cured, as well as the healing of the leper. It was here that Jesus walked on the water. And it was here that many of Jesus' teachings and miracles which took place in Capernaum right by Tabgha. The woes that Jesus proclaimed in Luke's Gospel to the unrepentant cities took place right here in this part of the Sea of Galilee. And of course it was right here, adjacent to this place, that Jesus met Peter and his companions in the moment of the resurrection. And the last appearance of Jesus to his apostles in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 28, also right here. Tabka, a place that many were fed. Tabka, a place where many came to the water of Jesus Christ. And today in the gospel, Jesus very clearly fulfills Isaiah's promise. In baptism and in Eucharist, come to the water, come to receive grain and eat. The feeding of the 5,000 really is Jesus' fulfillment of the Old Testament. Jesus, that convergence of time. Jesus really in this gospel proves himself to be the new King David. He is the shepherd who leads his flock to where? The green pasture. We hear they sat on the grass. Jesus is the new Moses and feeding the crowds just as Moses did in a deserted, out-of-the-way place. And Jesus is the new Elisha. He satisfies the hungry crowd with just a few loaves, as did Elisha the prophet in the second book of Kings. The feeding of the 5,000 really foreshadows the Eucharist, and Jesus follows the same rhythm as the Passover meal. He follows the same rhythm as the Last Supper. And what is that rhythm? We heard it very clearly. He takes the bread. He says the blessing over the bread. He breaks the bread, and he gives it to the apostles to distribute. That action of take, bless, break, and give. It is the same instruction Jesus gave in the moment of the Last Supper to the apostles. So in the gospel today, we hear Jesus say to the apostles, take and give. In the upper room, take and give. And what do we hear? There's 12 baskets left over. I'm sure a coincidence, being sarcastic for a moment, no coincidence at all. 12 baskets, 12 tribes of Israel, 12 apostles. And who are the 12 pillars of the church today? The successor of the apostles. We refer to them as the 12 pillars of the church. And it is from the bishops that we are ordained and given the authority from the bishops to take, break, bless, and give to the people, the Eucharist. So the simple question this weekend for us all really is, how thirsty are you and how hungry are you? You know, we normally bless ourselves with holy water on the way into church. We don't have it now because of the pandemic. But why do we do that? To remind ourselves to live our baptism. I told you on many occasions we had holy water fonts by our doors at the house, and we would bless ourselves coming and going from the house. Why? To remind ourselves of our baptism, to live our baptism. Are you thirsting to live your baptism? Simple question. And are you hungry for the Eucharist? Question I could have asked in March, April, May very easily, as you were not able to receive the Eucharist. But do you hunger not only for the Eucharist from this table, but do you hunger to be transformed by that Eucharist to be the Eucharistic people of God in the world today? The very next Mass we will baptize 2 adults, receive a third into the faith. We will confirm 6. As we will celebrate the RCIA rites of initiation, which should have been done at the Easter Vigil. I can tell you these 6 adults coming forward today for their full initiation, they've been hungering an extra long time to receive the water, to come to the table, to receive the grain, the Eucharist. Perhaps in their excitement and our prayer for them, we can recapture that excitement for ourselves, to thirst, to hunger. There is something easy about the divine life. Isaiah reminds us of that. And there's something reassuring about the divine life. The second reading reminds us, nothing will ever separate you from the love of God. If you choose to thirst and live your baptism, if you choose to hunger and be nourished and be that Eucharistic person in the world, nothing will ever separate you from the love of God.